So welcome to the session of the SLN conference. This is Written Hearts, 3 books from a sibling's perspective. So we'll go ahead and get started, and I'll put some links in the chat box for you.
Hi, and welcome to our panel, and thanks to the Sibling Leadership Network for inviting us to speak at this conference. And this is a breakout session. And I'm Diane Billiac. I'm a middle-aged white woman with blue eyes and graying, short, curly hair. Not as curly as Jessica's, but it's wavy, I should say. I've been writing since I was in my 20s, and I started with poetry, and then I worked on some monologues, specifically about my family, my father, and then one about sort of my sister. And then I met an editor, and we discussed maybe working on this book. And so my book is Nothing Special, and it became, it's a memoir. And that's what I'll be talking about today.
Okay. All right, my name is Angela West Brown. I am a 36-year-old African-American woman living in Atlanta, Georgia. I have dark brown eyes. I have some microfolics in my hair, and I am excited to be here.
All right, my name is Jessica Gonzalez. I'm 25, just turned 25. I'm a Hispanic woman, Puerto Rican and Dominican, with long curly hair that's brown, and my eyes are brown, last time I checked. And I am currently in school to become a speech language pathologist. I work with children at a after-school activity site in Washington Heights, where my family's from. And I currently am also a writer, and I wrote a children's book about my experience, semi-autobiographical experience with my sister growing up with autism. And building on this year's theme, Strength Through Connection, we are presenting Written Hearts, 3 books from the siblings' perspective.
We've come together to share our experiences of how writing about our siblings with disabilities has strengthened our connections to our siblings and connected us to a larger community, becoming a springboard for inclusion, advocacy, and joy. And once again, my name is Angela West Brown. I am an IEP adult transition life coach, and I coach families with transition age children through the transition process. The transition services part of the IEP is a separate part of the IEP that I pretty much want parents to know about from A to Z. They come to me, and we get a plan in place for your child for after they graduate high school. And so the title of my book is called Lost and Found. And I wanted to read a quick snippet for you. And it is from the conclusion of my book. And it's called Was Lost, But Now I Found My Way. You did it. You made it out the wilderness of confusion. You are no longer lost and without direction. You have the tools necessary to navigate your child into adulthood. Continue being the awesome and amazing parent you are. The simple fact that you took the time to read this book speaks volumes. Thank you for allowing me to be your guide. In the beginning of this book, I gave definition of what disability means and how to categorize individuals who may be deemed disabled. Sometimes we get distracted by the outward display of a person's disability that we somehow forget that not all disabilities can be seen. We tend to focus on what is normal, but what is normal? Really think about the notion of normal. Even in your normalcy, there is evidence of abnormalities. The very thing that makes us human. For example, your internal thought process can be the most debilitating disability ever experienced. Have you considered that your limiting self-beliefs, self-sabotaging behaviors, and warped perceptions of the world around you may be a disability? They can stop you from living a normal life, cause depression, and create a complete checkout from society for individuals. You are flawed as well. We are all flawed, whether you can visibly see it or not. I challenge you to change how you view these individuals with intellectual disabilities. They are not less than, incompetent, slow, crazy, unintelligent, or any other harmful or hurtful label you have called them. At least their perceived imperfections have made God's beauty more real and evident in our lives, ever present and exemplified in the pureness of their souls and loving smiles. The pureness of their souls make them God's angels on earth, the purest form of humanity. Their love is unconditional, and around every corner, they search for love in others, despite life's obstacles and setbacks. Protect God's angels, give them a voice, give them a choice to become all they inspire to be, and allow every parent and caregiver the opportunity to have a chance to make it so. Lost and Found. That's the book. And the reason why I wrote my book is because it was kind of like this full circle or this journey to get to where I am now. I worked for ABD, which is Age Blind Disability Services, for quite some time, for a couple of years. And then I went over and spent some time as a University Financial Aid Services rep, where I saw how the college process was for disability services. And then just having that sibling perspective and seeing how my grandmother did the best she could with the information she had. And she did not know all of the resources that were available that I learned after the fact, working in ABD, Age Blind Disability Services, and learning that eligibility process. So here I am being able to help from both sides of the table, being a processor of the Medicaid waivers such as Comp Now, Katie Beckett, all that, and then having that sibling perspective where I'm in the family, I know what the family is dealing with, I know their trials, I know their tribulations and struggles, and then I can speak a language where the parents can understand and dissect those complicated eligibility terms and processes, and letting them know this is what needs to be done. And then finding out at the end of it all that the transition services piece of the IEP is the key to everything that we need to create a successful plan of action for children once they finish high school.
Wonderful. That was beautiful. Thank you, Angela. I love that you shared all of that. And it was absolutely beautiful, your reading. That was gorgeous. I loved it. So again, my name is Jessica. The name of my book is Luna Yes, Luna Si. It's in English and Spanish for anyone who may not speak one or the other. So I'm just going to read the back of my book, a little blurb, since it is a kid's book. It's very short. So I'm just going to read a little bit here. So, while the world may not understand Luna, her sister Cassie knows her better than anyone. She knows Luna's favorite food, her favorite song, and her favorite dance move. Luna knows how to make Cassie laugh and her favorite ice cream. They may not be able to share secrets like some siblings, but they do share something far more important, a sister bond. Luna Yes, Luna Si is a bilingual story about Cassie and Luna's loving and sometimes challenging sibling relationship. Cassie's narration and Luna's responses highlight some behaviors that can be typical for people with high needs on the autism spectrum. So my motivation for writing the book was kind of, I was a huge bookworm when I was little. I loved it. I loved having my imagination run wild and just think of these amazing things and these amazing scenarios. But I noticed that there wasn't much about, having a sibling with autism. I know it's very specific, but it's an experience that was very close to me because my sister was diagnosed when I was about 8 years old. So I was very young and I wanted some comfort. I wanted someone out there who knew what I was going through. So I took it upon myself when I was my senior year of college to kind of sign this deal to make this book because I wanted to be that person for other kids who may feel like I do right now, because I think it's timeless. That's something when, especially if you're little, you really want someone who's going to be there, because sometimes your parents may be a little more absent because you have a sibling with disabilities, and that's very common, and it's a very common feeling. So I wrote this as a way to kind of shine a light on the sibling and kind of show how we're present, we're here, and we are so important to our sibling's life that it's kind of insane to, not really include us in it. So I very much wanted this to emphasize, Cassie and Luna, who are inspired by me and my sister, really see them and focus mainly on them. The parents are in the story as well, but focus on them and how they interact and how their relationship's a little bit more different, but you see the love is the same no matter what. And that's a big thing I wanted to show. And I think that it's been great. This book has opened so many doors for my sister, for me to meet people like myself who is a sibling and have always wanted to meet other siblings who understand what this is and what we're going through, because it sometimes can be very lonely. I mean, that's something that you mainly see with TV shows and all this other stuff is focusing on the parents, but you don't focus on the sibling who is lonely and wants to be more in the picture, or who wants to show their side of the story. Because we do have a very interesting perspective, being the child who might be placed with more responsibility and a little bit more of an outsider of it. But you see how important they are at the end of the day. And I'm just very grateful for this opportunity. And I think it's really inspired me to want to write more books for kids like this that are both educational and fun, which is a contradiction for kids, but I very much see it as a challenge that I'm willing to take on in the future. So feel free to look out for future projects. And I very much hope that this gives someone comfort out there in the world, a little kid, a teacher, a mom, dad, anyone. I really hope it puts a smile on people's faces, gives them the feels. And it was a big step for me to share this part of myself. A little bit of my heart's in it for anyone. Yeah.
That was great. Thank you so much. You have both of you are so bubbly. I feel like just the queen of sarcasm. And
I like sarcasm. I'm from New York.
I'm like going to be like, okay, let's get right to it. So my book is called Nothing Special. So hard to see with the light. Anyway, I started working on it about 10 years ago, actually, and I wrote this little piece about why it took me so long to finish it. But one of the reasons why I wrote it, and I won't share this in other crowds, but I will say that my mother has always paid so much attention to my sister. It's like almost every sentence starts with your sister this and your sister that. In fact, I saw both of them today, and yeah, so anyway, it never ends. And so I said, I'm going to write something one of these days and my mother will pay attention to. But if I do, I'll have to write it about my sister and myself, mostly because otherwise my mother won't even, pay any attention to it. So clearly I have some issues to work out. But anyway, so I'm going to read a little bit from the book. And this is a more of why I wrote it. And over time, I wrote so many different introductions, but we finally narrowed it down to a couple pages. And this is the author's note. When I asked my sister, my only sibling, Christine, AKA Chrissy, Chris, or Christopher, if I write a book with stories about us, what should I say about you? She answered, 1, I am very sorry I took Charlene's chips last week. 2, I will earn my gifts and cookies and ice cream. 3, Christopher is right all of the time. My response to number 3 was, we'll just see about that. Chris has Down syndrome. She doesn't like to write much and reads on a first grade level. So if one of us is going to chronicle the stories of our lives, both together and apart, it has to be me. I've tried to dig into her psyche and include her perspective as much as possible, but she has no interest in the examined life and gets annoyed when I prod. She can't meaningfully consent to being depicted here, but then again, neither can my dead father, and he gets plenty of ink. While my relationship with my sister is at the heart of this book, and for my life, and for that matter, my life, this story is my own, shaped by my experiences and limitations. I'm jumping ahead to the end. I want to be clear that my sister is not defined by lack. Disability, as activists and scholars remind us, is a condition that arises because society fails to make room for the full range of our humanity and gets hung up on norms instead of ways to support all people with the accommodations each deserves to live an inclusive life. My own life in different but overlapping ways has also been defined by external circumstances and expectations. I've allowed myself to be to be delayed, as it were, by a host of forces, and I've had to adjust and ask for help to meet those challenges. For most of our lives, Chris and I have treated each other as equals. Like many typical siblings, we used to fight over everything and laugh over anything. We're still prone to compete over the smallest things and tease one another mercilessly, even if it means making a scene. We are like two class clowns with a mafia streak, entertaining unless you so much as look at us funny. Then, not only will we always defend each other, but we'll stand together and find a way to make you pay. I'm going to show a little picture here. So the book has pictures. And that's us in our crib crying. We're only not even a year apart. So, and like I said earlier, I think I'm crying and my sister's just screaming because I'm crying so much. So apparently I had colic. Anyway, I come from kind of a very sarcastic, funny, teasing family. It's like half Irish, half Italian, some Polish in there. And it's like a breeding ground for like poking each other and everything else. And my sister was always 100% a part of that. And I felt like, especially in the Down syndrome community, there's a lot of like, oh, so cute and so sweet. And she can just give it as much as she takes it. So I don't know, that's why I kind of wanted to focus on sort of funnier stories or anecdotes about her. And the book is episodic in that way. So I deal with like themes around that, or themes that just pertain to me and where she was during that time. You know, did she understand that my father drank too much? Did she understand that that I had depressions, you know, in my 20s and stuff like that? And so I just sort of tease all of that out. And she did know that my father drank too much, because sometimes now that he's dead, she'll say, well, Dad drank too much wine. Dad drank too much beer. Like, she totally knows. And recently we were singing "In Heaven There Is No Beer," and she said, well, then he better get some wine up there or something like that. Like, she's just very clever and right on point. So anyway, I wanted to reach out to other siblings. That was a goal, besides, you know, wanting my mother to pay attention to me, because I thought, like, are other people telling these stories? And, you know, now you've heard from Jessica and Angela, and you know that we are, you know, we're reaching out to people. We want other people to be part of this world. And the book itself, I think, is available for anyone to read. You know, it's something that I did try to make family stories, you know, so whatever the issue was, you know, hopefully somebody would find some way to connect with it. So that would be my larger community bit. As far as my sister, our bonding, I just, while I was writing it, I think I got over a lot of things, you know, because I could see myself as a character and almost say, like, all right, come on, you know, you gotta grow up a little bit, fix some of this stuff. I could also see where people might have, you know, that whole expression, they're doing the best they can. I could see that a lot more, like that they didn't really have a lot to give, but they were giving the best that they had. Maybe not that they could, but what they had to give was all that they had. And so that helped me just see my sister as not the person to really, you know, blame for some of the things that happened in our house. And I think it is a springboard for things like advocacy, just because we're writing about people that other people might not know about and have direct experiences with. So now they're wondering and they're curious or learning something that they didn't have access to before. So immediately, that's the inclusion part and maybe the joyful part. And then the advocacy, at least in my case, I have to kind of do most of it because my sister doesn't really work in that world, you know. And again, especially after COVID, I think we've all realized like there's a lot at stake. So that's part of the writing and the creative process and how it connects to a larger sense of siblinghood and disability.
Yeah, so I think diving into it, I think it's amazing for us as siblings to kind of share our perspectives and our experiences. Again, because we always see the parents. It's always about the parents.
Mhm.
And even in a lot of books, it's always about the parent. But the thing is, and I mean, even in psychology, they're taught that siblings do play a huge vital role in a child's development.
Mhm.
No matter if they're older, younger, middle, they play such a vital role. And I think it's amazing how we can actually show how important we are to our siblings and how knowledgeable we are at such, like, facing very adult mature situations at such young ages when our siblings may have been diagnosed. So I think that it's great. And I hope that, more people are interested in speaking to us as well. Because I mean, I would definitely say that we're very open to helping people, talking to people,
Mhm.
because now that we're in this technological world with everything, you have the internet, iPhone, all this stuff, it's so much easier for us to connect to each other and to help other people and to just make people feel better and not alone. Because I do think that feeling of isolation, being the sibling, transcends beyond the family very much. So,
Right.
And I think that feeling of isolation intensified during COVID and quarantining for that time period. It really, really was tough for a lot of families,
Yeah, definitely. And there was not an infrastructure there for that. There it was, it was hard enough to get the services that people are getting. And they have to fight tooth and nail for that. So imagine now a pandemic comes in and the way that a lot of states dealt with it was just, okay, shut down, no access, no contact whatsoever. People stuck at home who, depending on their disability, it exacerbated for people who are very on schedule or rituals. And one of the things that I always hear, and I'm sure you guys do too, is that the sibling bond is the one that lasts the longest as well. So we are the ones that kind of pick up at a point. We start off almost together, depending on how old you are, difference, and then kind of going through the lifespan and then being, kind of part of that. And so does your work focus on that at all?
Yes, for me, with my families, I'm really pushing for the siblings to be a part of the IEP transition meetings, because the siblings, as you just stated, we have a very long-lasting relationship with our siblings, even when our parents pass on. So just to get them engaged and to have that experience advocating for their sibling early during those IEP transition team meetings is something I've been pushing for.
Mm-hmm.
I do agree with Angela, and I do think I agree with you as well, Diane. Going back to, I think, your point about, like, sometimes your sibling, you guys growing up, you guys share experiences that no one else can really understand. Like, you and your sister understanding your father's drinking. That's something that only you two understand really.
Mm-hmm.
So it's very definitely a good highlight. I mean, I think just to, like, be a little bit more uppity up, I try to add in a lot of funny moments with me and my sister getting into trouble with our mom in my book, which is something that did happen when we were younger, because, we were kids. I mean, sometimes your mom says, don't do something. And it's like, okay, now I want to do it still. So, I mean, that's a big thing I emphasize. And I mean, my sister, now that she's older, now she's 18, she does like to, sometimes do a little sarcastic stuff in that she'll say, like, my mom will say, you have to go to school tomorrow, that, right? And she'll say, sleep. Yes. And then that's her way of saying, I'm going to sleep in and I'm not going to school. My mom will just get annoyed with her. And then she'll just do this little, like, Family Guy, like, she knows that she's being sarcastic and she's going to find some way to get what she wants. It's this cute thing and this amazing thing about having a sibling that, it's like, okay, I know what you're doing. I'm not going to say anything because I don't want to get in trouble. So you do you and you have fun. So, I mean, it's kind of nice to just reflect on that. I mean, I'm also very grateful to have a healthy sibling relationship, because sometimes people don't always get that. I would say you're very lucky and very fortunate sometimes with that as well. So.
Yeah. I'm wondering, like, oftentimes we end up talking about our siblings, and not. So what was the experience like for you guys to write something, accomplish something, and just sit in that for your own self and not related to being, I mean, we did it because we're siblings, but what about just the accomplishment of, we all wrote a book, we all got it published. That's pretty exciting too. And I think that, I don't know, I just want to honor both of you and our journey on that and like getting to that point, because it's a lot of work.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Let's not talk about the process, because the process it can be very tedious and very the finished product is when you're happy. You're like, okay, I did it. But honestly, the process behind this was so much, especially for translating.
Yeah.
And I mean, obviously, I'm pretty sure you guys may be familiar. We all don't speak the same Spanish depending on which country you come from. So to find a neutral Spanish that anyone can understand was a pain.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think honestly, it's great. And I think, well, for me, this was the first big like passion project for me. And I feel like this has opened the door for this like boost of, I guess, ambition for more writing, for more exploring with my sister and this story that I want to take on, that I want to pursue. And I feel like I'm developing more emotional intelligence along the way and being prepared for, the pros and the cons of putting myself out there more and letting a piece of me out there a little bit more, little by little. So I'm so proud of this. I'm excited to explore more. I'm excited to educate people, to talk to people and meet people. Hopefully, I mean, life's looking a little bit more brighter these days. So, hopefully meet more people and bond with other people too as well.
Yeah.
It's just amazing to hear author. I guess that's what I'm meaning by I'm still embracing it, because I'm an author. And then you have to give yourself that moment to, like you said, sit in it and embrace it and accept it and feel that you deserve it. You're worthy of every accomplishment that you have the ability to get done. It's about having follow through. And I think that's something that siblings have learned to do, to always get it done, to almost kind of like this catch-22, because we almost go into like a perfectionism type thing. It's like, maybe have to give ourselves a minute to just be, and not always perform. So I love it. I love it.
Yeah, I've enjoyed, I think there's a lot more narratives out there now in general, whether it's movies or TV shows. There's like 3 or 4, maybe more TV shows with a sibling with autism. There's been a little bit, there's been a Down syndrome, for people with Down syndrome focused show, I believe. So yeah, I definitely encourage anyone watching this to share yourselves through. Oh, and my timer is not working.
We'll let them chat.
We're just chatting a little bit now about this timer issue that we're not paying attention to. But
send an email, be like, hey, we may need some help.
I think we should probably wrap it up. Yeah.
But okay. Okay, you know what? I say we can make a blooper section. It'll be I'm down for it. Like, I'm down with that. But all right. So I think we can also say we want to thank everyone who actually tuned in to listen to us. Listen to this recording. Thank you all so much for hearing our stories, for literally hearing our stories.
Right.
And very much, yes. We have worked so hard. We have matured, we are grown, we are very excited. And if you guys want to get in contact with us, again, we're very open. You guys just want to talk to us, that's cool too. I can put my card up. Hopefully you guys can see it. I'm Linguistically Linda. So my website is down there. It's jessgonzi.com. Linguistically Linda on Facebook, Instagram, all of that. And feel free to email me or hit me up if you want to talk, work on something, or you just need a friend to just be there. I'm always down. I'm always open to people. So yeah. All right. You ladies?
Yes. And you can connect with me at www.angelawestbrown.com. Everything that you need is on there for you to reach out to me. I'm here.
Same for me. I've got this card, which I can never figure out how to, there we go.
I see it.
And so I'm like, that's my website, but everything else is basically nothing special at Twitter, nothing special at Instagram, to keep it a little bit separate. And so please definitely reach out if you have questions, concerns, thoughts, you want to chat about your own experiences, I'd love to hear from anybody. If you read the book, I'd love to hear how it sat with you.
Yes.
And hopefully next year, 2022, maybe we can all be in person for this conference.
Yes.
Yes.
Crossing our fingers, because it would be so nice to actually just, you realize how much physical bonding is important as well through 2020. So again, I really hope everyone is safe, healthy, and I hope that we all get to be in person and laugh together. That's just nice to be in a room full of laughter and joy.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you to the Sibling Leadership Network for having us. We have enjoyed ourselves. Thank you.
All right, thank you everybody for joining this session. I'm going to put in the chat box the link to get back to the table talks, and we'll go into those separate groups then. So click on that link and we'll go back to the main room.